Hey everybody, welcome back. Psychedelic here. Today I'm going to be sharing my top 10 finds of 2020. Something I've been anticipating since probably the beginning of the year. I always look forward to this time of the year to share, kind of reflect on what I've purchased ever since January up until now. And it's just like, since 2020, we all know it's been kind of a letdown for a lot of us, but as far as my record collecting hobby, it's just totally different ball game. And I've really acquired stuff that only 60-year-old psych veterans out there, not just in VC, but people that really have acquired these holy grails over the years are in my collection now. It's insane. Stuff that you read about in Acid Archives that are marked at number 4 rarity scale, and they happen to be in this pile right before me, is something I'm just really proud to say and take home with me. But anyways, let's get down to it. So this is basically top 10 finds, and I'm basing these, of course, off of the rarity scale, how much I really love these albums. I'm kind of ranking them, how should I put this? The least acquired, probably the most easily accessible way to acquire it to, something just unimaginable. So number 10 to 1 on that scale, if that makes any sense at all. So you'll see what I mean as we go through this. So it's basically half psych, half private press, two subgenres or two different worlds of music that go in hand sometimes, and one of these albums actually does. It's both a psychedelic release and privately pressed LP, or small label, I should say. Sometimes I get definitions mixed up sometimes, but I guess I could say a limited release from this label back in the day. So with further ado, let's get started here. So the only tough one, it wasn't really too tough to write this whole list up except for 2 LPs, and I guess you could say this was a runner-up. I didn't happen to share this one in the video, but it's in the stacks right now, but it was a toss-up between Mother Tucker's Yellow Duck and this album. And I tried figuring out which one's kind of more scarce, because Mother Tucker's, was only a Canadian release only, and with this LP, it seems to be maybe more sought after. The Lollipop Shop. This is their album, Just Color. Definitely one of the more scarce titles on Uni, up there with Druids of Stonehenge, rather. That album's actually probably more scarce than this, but I was definitely really happy to finally acquire this, because I did see a copy in person one time at the Omaha Record Show. They wanted $200 for it, but I wasn't even paying that much, back in maybe 3 years ago when I saw it. So yeah, this is a original Uni copy, and also do be aware of an 80s bootleg that does look very identical to this. The only way of telling is by looking at the label. You can definitely tell it's a reproduction. This is it's a little different label variation of the original Uni label, and I can't really say. I don't know if this would be in my top 10 for Uni. I do like the album, but I do think it gets kind of hampered as being kind of overrated in some aspects as far as like garage psych goes. I think it does get a lot of love. Which is a good thing, because it is a great album in some aspects, but I think a lot of it it gets kind of overran, over talked about, and the hype is just not as great as people may lead you to believe. But it's got some good material for sure. It's a more punkier sounding version of the band Love. Very Arthur Lee inspired vocals, and Fred Cole, who just passed away not too long ago, was kind of the mastermind behind that album. So I'm very happy to acquire that under the $100 range. And that was one of my Constantine pickups this year. as well as Mother Tucker. But so it was kind of a toss-up between those two at number 10 spot, but I figured Lollipop Shop might deserve that one. But Mother Tucker's was a great rediscovery this year because it was one I'd kind of forgotten about. Okay, and then moving on to a privately pressed record that is one I've just been trying to hunt down for like 2 or 3 years or so. Frankiani, No Moon Night. And ever since I posted this online, it seems like it's gotten some attention lately in the some of the Facebook groups I'm a part of. People are picking up on copies on eBay. I don't know if it's the seller himself or people associated with the artist, but he's been selling sealed copies online. And this guy is based out of, I think, Dayton, Ohio. Well, it's recorded in Cleveland. So it's like a Midwestern kind of 70s cosmic rock flavor to it with some kind of Beatles-esque sort of writings throughout. Really nice cosmic keyboards, nice vocals. This was a great discovery when I first heard it, like 2 years ago on YouTube. So yeah, it's kind of a quirky, forgotten gem for sure. And man, finally landed in my lap. This was one that was kind of tough to acquire. Every time I would see it on eBay, I like lost a couple bids on it, and then one seller never even responded back to me after I had made payment. So it's just one of those kind of sketchy situations. Okay, and number 8 spot, decided to throw this in the mix. As far as an album that I wanted to acquire in the psychedelic world for years, ever since like Earhead 6 showed this, man, finally landed in my lap for a very comfortable price. This is Them, Time In, Time Out for Them. It's the second album to not feature Van Morrison, which is a plus. A lot of people were giving me crap about that in the YouTube section when I talked about it, and I'm not a Van Morrison fan, and you know, I'm going to be very blunt about that, whether people like it or not. You know, we just all have different tastes and opinions, and one of many artists I could talk about and rant about, you know, but I just decide not to do that here. Bruce Springsteen sucks. Okay. Anyways, with Them, second album on Tower rather. I still need Now and Then. They still kind of lingered the rhythm and blues there, but this one goes full-blown Middle Eastern acid rock, and I love it. This is definitely a recommended LP for anyone into that kind of style. So I was kind of skeptical about this copy too, because looking at some of the markings and stuff, it just kind of looked like might have a few issues, but copies on Tower are pretty strong, so this one played pretty well. It's like a BG+, so I was very happy with the outcome. And like I said, this is probably the top psych record I've been trying to it was like my holy grail for a while, and now it's probably going to be Easter everywhere, so we'll see if that happens next year. Very good LP. Okay, at number 7, this is again another one that I just cannot believe I landed my hands on, and I scooped this up at the right time too, because I had just refreshed my Discogs page, and I just talked about this album in my albums on my Discogs want list, and I keep it pretty limited because I want to kind of search some things out, stuff I might forget about later on, or something I'm just really digging at the moment. And I certainly was with this album, and don't know how it happened, because there was another seller right next in line for this one, and I got it. The Medium, this is their self-titled. It's a band from, I think, Quebec, Montreal. Yeah, this is just fantastic. Progadelic, sort of in the vein of Soft Machine a little bit, and Fluff comes to mind. Very keyboard oriented, but there's plenty of fuzz dashes mixed throughout. Very talented band too. Sometimes you can hear throughout the album like the percussionist is trying to keep up. Sometimes they can go really fast and just quirky and very zany. but at the same time they can be very mellow and um, keep it very simplistic. And so just overall, this album just is very fiery. This is right up my wheelhouse. It's on the Gamma label, and you just never see copies go up for sale anymore. I don't know how many were pressed, but being a small label out of Canada, not too many copies this clean can, you don't see their way coming to the U.S. So that was a touchstone right there. And that's probably one of the better scores of my year. Probably the cheapest. Well, probably second cheapest score this year. Oh man, I was so happy when I saw this at the local shop. Still got the sticker and everything. This one costed me $9. It was a local LP. And I knew right away what this was. So this is Bruce Hiller, A Gentle Beginning. And there's actually a lot of singer-songwriters in this top 10 list. This guy was based out of Lincoln, and he recorded at Studios in Lincoln. I'm still trying to find where the location of that is. I think I saw the address of where that studio was, but I actually contacted the bass player of this band, and I'm Facebook friends with him now. I don't think he's on the cover, but he accompanies Bruce's strumming of the guitar. But anyways, this is fantastic. Very deep, very kind of dark and moody in spots. Singer-songwriter, very contemporary folk-based. It's questionable psych folk influences for sure, but definitely one of those albums that just kind of takes you somewhere else into this kind of dark, vast world of Bruce Hiller. I have uploaded one track onto YouTube. I think it was Mr. Eden, but the track The Visitor is also on YouTube, and that's just 2 tracks that sink you right in. Pretty much throughout. This is a very listenable, very enjoyable LP. I guess the best way to describe it also is, kind of sounds like Johnny Cash if he were to make a psych folk record, so just keep that in mind. It's actually very good vocals. It's not country at all, but it kind of resembles Johnny Cash's, husky voice in spots. And I'm so glad I got this too, because now I acquired both records on that same label, and I got them pretty much dirt cheap locally. This album and Heaven, self-titled, on the WW Records label, which is very sought after now. It's like a jazz rock, kind of psych rock album. Whew. Glad I found that local section that day. That's for damn sure. This may surprise some people, but yeah, it's not at the #1 spot, but this was definitely the one I paid the most this year, and I don't know what else to say about it except just to share it. Creation of Sunlight. Damn, this is a great pickup. And I'm so glad this played better than it looks. The copy does look, very scratched up and got a lot of scuffs going on, but, I messaged the seller so many questions before I bought it, and he gave me some different samples, sound clips, and I was very pleased overall. The music definitely overpowers any crackling whatsoever, and just the fact it survived the shape for this long, and I pressed 600 copies of this on the Windy label. It's just miraculous that it's even in this decent of shape. Since they basically kind of passed this album around to different friends and people in the community, and probably only sold it locally at the time, which I think was based out of, I think this label was based out of Utah. Well, it says Manhattan Beach, California. Maybe I'm thinking of the band Merkin is based out of Utah. But yeah, this, I have to say, the original vinyl of this has such great clarity too. It does look like a bad scuff there, but seriously guys, this plays amazing. I put a clip of Second Thoughts on my other channel, which is probably my favorite track on here. Second Thoughts and David, which opens the album. Just purely, simply Sunshine Pop, Pop Psych, Bliss. Very much in the same vein as like Strawberry Alarm Clock, you know, features nice fuzz guitar, kind of backing these pop psych melodies. And just don't let the cover fool you for like a, you know, sort of a Sunshine Pop like Spanky and our gang. It's definitely not in that league. I mean, this thing fetches for $1,000 now, and I got it pretty well under that, but definitely the most I paid for a record ever. And do I regret it? Hell no. Hell no with that album. Okay, and then number 4 spot. So this is one that I was kind of debating to get it too, but you know, you never see this in the U.S., and it did have a couple minor issues with it, but I'll explain. But this is still just another album, that original album from Peru, that I just never imagined to fit in this collection. This is the band Pax. This is their album May God and Your Will Land You and Your Soul Miles Away from Evil. Just love that animation. There's just so much going on here. Gatefold. This is probably the first of any original LP from Brazil in my collection. This came out in 1970. It's very influenced by Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, early UFO sounds. Very heavy and very raw and unhinged hard rock. It's also got a couple softer moments with some strings, which honestly, those tracks are just as strong. On the Pip label, maybe? No, the Sono Radio label. And I think they actually just reissued this too. A friend online just showed me this album, and I think they reissued it recently. But yeah, this is another one that I just acquired that needs to be listened to by some people out there. And the hard rock, heavy psych realm, that people that love Black Sabbath and early UFO is very much in that vein. So, you know, and being a pressing out of, you know, South America, it's got kind of a low fidelity, but it just kind of soaks you into that atmosphere of, you know, these people's worlds, you know, and what they were smoking, and you know, you just kind of live the experience with them. But anyways, with the vinyl though, there's 2 tracks, like halfway in between these 2 tracks, there's a couple needle issues where someone must have had a bad needle and really messed up the vinyl. But thankfully, at least I'd say 90% of it is listenable. So it's the only downside, but just happy to have a copy and sharing it with you guys. Number 3 spot. This is an album I picked up probably the cheapest on this list, and I think I paid maybe $1. And this was a blind buy, and it just happened to be one of the best discoveries of all time. This is a singer-songwriter as well, and this was not on Discogs till I put it on, and I think people started talking about it more and more once I've uploaded this. And this is John Fred Houston, and just looking at the cover, you know, is all I had about it. I could not find anything online about this man up until I think I found his obituary, and he's actually from the Lincoln area, but he also had these I think he recorded this in Nashville though. Had some connection with Lincoln, Nebraska, but he signed the back here. Maybe he did some gigs up this way or something. But yeah, it's mostly cover songs. I think pretty much all of them are, like Neil Diamond. But the unique thing about this album is he has a very unique voice, kind of reminiscent of Skip Spence. But the way he uses these tracks, with all these different vocal effects, like there's a lot of echo chamber effects going on, and guitar wah-wah pedal effects throughout. It's just a very unique experience of its own. It's kind of one of those LPs you would find in like the Enjoy the Experience books, those kind of private press discoveries of, you know, of this sort. And this is fantastic Tracks like Ghost Riders, it's probably the big highlight. Sweet Caroline. There's a couple John Denver tracks too. He's still full of shit, but these tracks are worth it. Windy and Warm as well, the instrumental. It's very, very tasty stuff, and probably not for everybody, but it's not really something I just would get too excited about. But honestly, this one surprised me how just how unique it is in sound. Everything going for it, the whole visual, the sound visuals I get from this, and just kind of tells you what kind of landscape he was recording this in, and just kind of feels like you're kind of out in the desert, and he's kind of playing this little concert for you in this kind of rickety bar. It's got that kind of vibe going for it, and I love it. So I think I did see a $40 copy on crates.com, or it's Crates out of LA on their website. Okay, got two more here, down to the final two. And this is the last one of the, well, they're both psychedelic, but as far as like major label, semi-major label, this is another album that was very high on my want list, and I'm glad I asked Constantine if he had a copy of this, because I'd just been desperate for years and wanted to see if I could get a good copy, and thankfully I did before he started posting the albums. And this is Arzachel. Still don't know how to pronounce it. We're going with Arzachel. And this is, of course, featured a lot of people like people that were behind Gong, Steve Hillage and company, under different pseudonyms, and this is the US copy. What else needs to be said about this album? This is just purely insane, reverb-drenched, progadelic, progressive psych rock of the highest order from, the late 60s. Just what a cover art too. I love this color variation and the blue, but they're both very, very, eye-catching, to say the least. And of course, I love seeing this album on the Roulette label too. It's just a very, very odd choice for putting an album of this caliber on the Roulette Mafia label. Tommy James and the Shondells right next to Arzachel. What? It's just bizarre, and I love it. So you can't go wrong with tracks like Garden of Earthly Delights. What's the other big highlight? Leg. The whole side too is just chaotic, just insanity. So Arzachel. Another one I kind of paid up for, but thankfully, in a lot of these albums, stuff like Creation of Sunlight and The Medium, if I hadn't have made, all those sales on Instagram like I did, I wouldn't have acquired any of these, and it's all thanks to, some people out there watching, and mostly people on Instagram have really helped me out acquire these. And so the number one pick, the one I'm very, very happy about acquiring, I think I purchased this, very late last year in December, and got this from a good friend, Alex Kerner, who brought this album to my attention, probably back in 2016 when he posted this in my Facebook group, and I was just starstruck from the first notes, everything I heard, and I've just never heard such a singer-songwriter be so down and depressed. It's a very loner folk masterpiece, very much in the same field as like Perry Leofield and Ed Askew, kind of artists like that. And this one is just tops. So Bill Stone, it was number one pick. Maybe not, but this I think this is actually getting a reissue fairly soon. I don't know if it's out yet or not. I don't think it is, but I forget the label that's going to reissue this. Maybe Time Lag. But anyways, this is fantastic, spellbinding, loner folk, psych folk, acid folk of the highest order. This guy's based out of Maine, and thankfully, I probably would have never gotten a copy had I not told Alex I found him on Facebook, because for the longest time this guy was just an enigma, and just kind of figuring out, well, what's the story behind this guy if he's just got so many strange songs. Tracks like Purple instantly hooked me in. Purple, Charlottetown, they're all original tracks, and they're just so superior compared to anything else of its ilk that I've ever heard. Here I Am, Fog, Crystal Lover. Oh, it's just so good. The album does feel a little short at times, but the material is just enough to outweigh the bad spots, which there are none. So this is one of the best LPs I've ever heard. I'm so glad Alex gave me another copy of this. And thankfully the guy recognizes his talent nowadays, and he is no longer an enigma to many of us. And the fact there was only 100 copies of this original pressed is just amazing. Just over my head, really. So yeah, that about does it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the list. Hope I didn't keep you here too long, but tried to go rather quickly, and hope you guys discovered some gems while learning a little bit. I try to put a little input in there as much as I can. This list was fun, so I'll probably be posting this video maybe this weekend. I'm actually shooting this in the middle of the week, but I figure we'll kind of wait towards the end of the year. I definitely have a few albums to share yet, but I just haven't gotten around to them. I figured I'll just get this list out of the way, and then I'll share what I've acquired. So thanks for all the feedback, thanks for all the comments lately, and hope you guys enjoy. Let's see what 2021 brings us. Well, like Bittersweet said in their album Hypnotic One on the track 2086, they mentioned that year 2021 we ended war. So don't know what that means, but we're gonna find out. Anyways, take care, and we shall see you soon.